Federal agents entered a place no one ever expects to be locked down. Not a terminal, but the airport director's office.
At 6 a.m., a federal spokesperson stepped to the podium and delivered a sentence that stunned everyone listening. $9 to $7 million seized. 2.1 tons of narcotics recovered. 1 aviation authority dismantled. Las Vegas, Nevada. What investigators would later call the most sophisticated airport-based cartel infiltration ever uncovered on U.S. soil did not begin in a border town or a jungle runway. It began inside a glass office overlooking the tarmac, where private jets gleamed under desert sun and cargo manifests were quietly rewritten. Tonight, you're going to see how deep it went, and why the next layer was far worse. At 3:47 a.m., Las Vegas was silent in the way only desert cities can be before dawn. Neon still hummed on the strip miles away, but near the McCarran cargo terminals, the air was cold and still. Sodium lights cast long shadows across empty runways. Wind pushed dust across the concrete like smoke. That was when the first convoy rolled in. FBI armored vehicles, ICE tactical units, DHS, rapid response teams, SWAT operators in matte black, faces covered, moving with purpose. This wasn't a single raid. It was a synchronized strike. At exactly 3:49 a.m., teams breached the Nevada Airport Authority headquarters. Hydraulic cutters screamed through reinforced doors. Flashbangs detonated inside executive corridors. Agents flirted hallways lined with framed aviation awards and glossy photographs of ribbon-cutting ceremonies. 2 miles away, ICE units hit private hangars near the edge of the airfield. Doors were forced open. Planes still warm from overnight. Arrivals sat nose to nose. Their cargo holds packed, not with luggage, but with shrink-wrapped bricks of cocaine and methamphetamine. At the same moment, FBI teams raided 3 logistics warehouses disguised as aircraft maintenance facilities. Inside, they found palletized fentanyl, pills, over 2.1 million of them sealed in crates, labeled as avionics equipment. Suspects ran. Some didn't make it far. One man tried to flee across the tarmac, carrying a duffel bag stuffed with cash. He slipped, fell, and was on the ground before he could stand. Inside the bag, nearly $2 million in bundled 20s. Another suspect barricaded himself inside a control office. Agents breached. No shots fired. Just silence and handcuffs. By 4:18 a.m., the operation's first phase was complete, and then came the discovery that changed everything. Inside the airport director's office, hidden behind a false wall panel, agents uncovered a climate-controlled steel vault. Inside were encrypted hard drives, satellite phones, and sealed ledgers, stamped with a single phrase, Project Skyway. By 6:22 a.m., those drives were on their way to a federal cyber forensics lab outside Reno. At 9:11 a.m., analysts began cracking the encryption. What emerged on their screens wasn't a spreadsheet. It was a command map. Project Skyway was not a smuggling ring. It was a system, a master plan that turned Nevada's aviation infrastructure into a protected artery for a Mexican cartel-linked narcotics empire. Shell companies layered over shell companies, ghost cargo firms registered in Panama, sham aviation, charities laundering, donations through nonprofit grants, private jet leasing companies funneling millions through offshore accounts. Money flowed from Mexico, through Nevada, into the Caribbean, and back into us real estate and political consulting firms. At the center of it all was a digital authorization key used to bypass inspection schedules, redirect canine units, and suspend random cargo screenings. That key belonged to one man, Raymond Ray Caldero, fictional Nevada airport director, publicly praised as a logistics visionary, privately operating as the gatekeeper of a cartel airbridge. Investigators realized this wasn't corruption. It was command-level collusion. Caldero's encrypted directives showed precise timing windows where inspections were canceled. Private hangars were cleared. Air traffic controllers reassigned. All to allow narcotics flights to land, unload, and vanish into the desert. Nevada had become a secure drug empire hub, a cartel fortress in plain sight. And this was only the beginning. At 4:02 a.m. the next morning, inside a DHS command center in Las Vegas, a wall-sized digital map flickered to life. Red markers pulsed across Nevada, California, Arizona, and Utah. Each marker represented a node in Caldero's network. At 4:15 a.m., the order was given. Over 1,000 federal agents mobilized. 36 SWAT teams, Black Hawk, helicopters lifting into the dark, U.S. Army surveillance aircraft providing overwatch, naval radar assets monitoring air corridors along the Pacific coast. By 5 a.m., raids erupted across the Southwest. A desert airstrip outside Pahrump, runways hiding underground fuel caches, A cartel superlab inside a warehouse near Barstow Industrial Mixers, still warm. Fentanyl presses mid. A drug fortress mansion in Henderson was lined with rifles. Safes stacked with cash. In one location. Agents uncovered a hidden tunnel beneath a rural hangar leading to a buried cargo vault capable of holding 10 tons of narcotics. Cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl pills by the millions. Server farms were seized. Encrypted radios confiscated. Cartel lieutenants arrested, alongside white-collar coordinators in tailored suits. By noon, the underworld had taken more damage in 6 hours than in the previous 6 years. But the most disturbing revelation came later. Inside the seized servers, investigators found internal law enforcement logs, patrol schedules, badge numbers, internal emails. 43 airport security officers compromised. 9 customs inspectors on cartel payroll. 2 mid-level state regulators providing cover. Convoys passed through checkpoints that didn't exist on official maps. K-9 units were reassigned minutes before narcotics arrivals. Raid schedules leaked hours in advance until this one. Honest officers stared at the screens in disbelief. One veteran ICE agent reportedly said, "We weren't fighting criminals. We were fighting a shadow agency." Federal teams began making arrests from within their own ranks. Senior supervisors, tactical planners, people who wore the badge but served another master. This wasn't infiltration anymore. It was a parallel enforcement system. As analysts zoomed out, the scope widened again. Project Skyway linked to trucking corridors in Texas, rail transfers through the Midwest, maritime shipments moving through California ports. The system could move for tons of narcotics per week without triggering alerts. Shipping manifests altered. Way stations mysteriously closed for maintenance. Migrant smuggling convoys used as diversionary cover. One final encrypted file chilled investigators to the core. A long-term plan to establish Nevada as the permanent aerial headquarters for the cartel's North American operations. A shadow infrastructure designed to last decades. Though realization hit hard, this system wasn't broken. It was redesigned. As the dust settled, Caldero was let out of federal custody in silence. No press conference, no speech. Just the end of a long deception. The cost of this operation wasn't measured only in dollars or drugs. It was measured in lives lost to fentanyl, neighborhoods hollowed out, families broken quietly behind closed doors. Power, investigators concluded, doesn't always need violence. Sometimes it only needs silence and ambition. If you're still watching, tap like, so more people see this story. Comment, expose, if you believe corruption like this should never stay hidden. Asterisk.